Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everybody. It's spring Chinook season here in Oregon. There's just no other way to put it. We actually have weather that's going to be darn beautiful this upcoming week, which is a bit different if you're talking about spring Chinook fishing, but I guess that coincides perfectly with this season because this season is very different as well. Like, it's easy to say, all of them are. But this one, Brandon, has been very, very frustrating for a lot of folks. You mentioned that you were doing really good on the Columbia. That's a rare report overall, except those last 2 days where it seemed like things were not consistent, but definitely better than what they had been prior to it actually closing down. Well, you're stuck on the Willamette now. It's a different river, different system. Do you change the baits that you would typically use? I just saw some chartreuse bait there, and I know in the channel where that water could be a little off color, it's not a bad idea to have a little extra bling on your baits.
Yeah, so Owen, you're absolutely right. I do change up my stuff a little bit here in the channel, especially when you got a lot more color in the water. Now, today's conditions, you got really good clarity. You know, we're probably looking at almost 4.5 foot of total viz available right now. So visibility is great. Temperature is really good. I am using right now, all my rods are fishing just a lightly brined bait, not much scent, but with some UV to my bait. Just kind of shine it up a little bit. First couple passes this morning while it was darker, I was using green baits, which I'll show you.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
I like using something like this, especially early mornings, okay? Blood cuts, chartreuse herring. And then one of my favorite flashers is anything that's, oops, where's my light? There you go. Chartreuse there with some orange, especially in this low light conditions.
Now, as the sun comes up, do you start changing to different colors with flashers? Do you go like more chromes, pinks? Would you change that?
I will, especially when the water's got good clarity. If the water is still dirty, but the sun's high, then I'll still kind of keep the chartreuse stuff on. But as we start getting higher sun's beating in the water clarity is really good. Trying to go to like a natural bait, something not so colored up, and change my flashers to more silver flasher.
Okay, and he just broke up a little bit there, changing the colors up, changing the baits up as well. You mentioned lightly brined and lightly scented. Is that something that you find to be a little bit easier for the fish to be aggressive with, as opposed to maybe something that's a little bit more stinky, I guess maybe the way to put it, or what do you typically see there?
It just kind of seems like once you got a lot of pressure out here, you know, using something that everybody else is kind of using, which is a heavily cured or a brine bait with a lot of scent, I just don't do as well with. Now, the only time that'll differ is when the water temp really warms up, and then I'll start adding maybe like a little bit of garlic. So That's the only time I'll really add a lot of scent, but that's after the water's already warmed up quite a bit.
So it's more important for you to maybe change up that profile by adding the color as opposed to working on their nose with some extra scent.
Yes. So, I mean, every day is different, right? And the water conditions are always going to be different between heavy rainstorms or a lot of snow melt. What time of the year are we talking? Middle, later May? Are we talking right now in April? I mean, there's just so many variables that you need to kind of play with. You just can't really explain everything over a short little period. It's kind of, you have to learn and kind of play with it and see where your variables are at with what's the fish are grabbing consistently over those times.
Okay, another question I got.
I wish I could just sum it up, but I can't.
Yeah, no, I get it. No, so hopefully everybody, you're paying a little bit of attention there. I apologize for the video, but it is what it is. It's just technology, but at least we can hear him. So from the Columbia, the water is a lot clearer than it is in the Multnomah Channel. Do you like a shorter leader behind that fish flash in the Willamette than maybe you would on the Columbia?
Yeah, so definitely, Rowan. You know, the clarity here in the channel today is pretty close to what the Columbia is.
Oh, okay, good.
Because remember, the Columbia colored up a little bit from the John Day, and some of those upper rivers have a lot of snow melt coming down. So it definitely turbid up that Columbia a little bit. But right now, we're really clear in the channel, and I do like using a longer leader when you have clearer water. Of course, dirtier water, you know, 1.5 to 2 foot of viz. I'll shorten up my stuff to 26 to 32-inch leaders.
Okay. All right. Makes sense. Now, obviously, you're going to have to change things up as you go, right? Because you're not on the Columbia. The bottom of the river in the channel and the majority of the Willamette is not like the Columbia, where the Columbia, you can pretty much drag a lead from the airport to Longview and be rarely hung up. Now, if you tried to do that on the Willamette, anywhere on the Willamette, you're done. You're not going to be able to drag or run braille, like we like to call it, like you would on the Columbia. What is your theory on changing of depth? Because you're going from 10, 12, 13 feet of water, and you're going to get into areas that are 30 foot of water. Are you constantly having your clients manipulate those lines to keep it right on the bottom, or are you trying to keep a vicinity of the bottom?
Yeah, so, and that's very good to say, you know, the channel is very, very snaggy, so compared to the Columbia. And typically I run like a 20 to 24-inch dropper in here, but I try to hit bottom just enough in areas where I know it's not too snaggy. But I use a light dropper leader, and I'll just break off the leader. I don't care. Just put a new lead on. I try to keep ourselves in the vicinity of the bottom as much as possible. So we're about to drop down here in a little bit of depth. We're going to go about, hey, guys, go down 5 more on your counters now. So we're actually going to drop down because now we're getting down to 17, 18 feet of water from 12. So.
Okay, so it makes sense. I mean, literally, everyone, what we're saying there, and the reason why I asked him that question is, don't drag the bottom in the channel. It will cost you very, very quickly. Although I love the tip, a little bit longer of a dropper than what you would be using on the Columbia, light dropper lines, so that it'll break off a little bit easier, and you can save your fish splash or whatever it is that you're going to be towing around out there. Okay, so what are your thoughts on this season, and what do you think is going to happen going forward based on the conditions that we have?
Well, I think so far what we've seen, I think we've had really good water conditions, really good water temperatures. We should have had I would say, a lot better spring Chinook push coming into the Columbia system and coming into those Willamette so far. And I just think these fish are obviously still behind, still late, but we keep saying still late for the last several years. I just feel like these fish now, the new late is actually just their norm now, has come in middle April.
Which is weird. Just
weird. You know, here's a way to look at it. All the hatcheries are taking all these fish later and holding them because the water temp's too warm in a lot of these creeks, so the fish won't hold on the vicinity until they need to spawn them. So now they're taking later returning fish and spawning those. And I'm seeing, it feels like our fish are becoming later and later because we're taking a later returning genetic fish.
So if I'm going to interpret that the way a duck hunter would, optimism is high. We still have a lot to look forward to between now and, say, the end of June, which obviously June has turned into a very popular and very productive month on the Willamette. Is that a safe assumption?
Oh, 100%. I definitely say there's still a lot of really good opportunities to come. And we all know that my favorite time to catch spring Chinook is definitely the last week of March, that first couple of weeks of April, but knowing that last week of April, first week of May, I think is kind of your climax for your push of fish coming into this Multnomah Channel area and really getting through the Portland area, moving up to Oregon City. Now, that being said, down in front of Fred's, Swan Island, those guys are really doing good all the way June through July now, because I think those, especially that clack in the stock, is just kind of laying in there in that warmer water. And they bite very well early in the morning. So,
are we going to get back out on the Columbia before the springers are gone?
I bet you. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. If the run comes in like designed, expected, we need to start seeing fish over 1,500, 2,000 fish a day here by next week. I think we'll start having ideas. Maybe May 15th, we could have a reopener back to try and get some more of that quota that we're still have a 35% buffer on.
All right, I had to ask a question from somebody that puts their finger on the pulse of that every day, because I get the question constantly, are we going to get back out there? So thank you for helping me out with that one. Brandon, any availability for folks to get fishing with you this spring Chinook season, or are you already booking for summer and fall Chinook?
Yeah, so summer and fall Chinook's kind of already all booked up, but I definitely have a little bit of availability. I can help people out here in May, a little bit in June. The last week of April, I got a couple seats still available. So definitely some opportunities to get you guys back out here on the Willamette and or Columbia if it reopens before we move into the ocean season. So.
Which obviously everyone, if you could tell by the giant monstrosity that he's running around in, he loves to be out in the ocean as well with that big Alumiwell and twins.
Yeah.
Hey, Brandon, thanks for spending some time, man. It's good to see you again. We miss you. We haven't talked to you nearly enough. But good luck today. Be successful, and we'll check in with you soon, okay?
Hey, sounds great. Good luck, guys. All right, hook them up, keep them on, and net them.
Yeah, no kidding. That's the story of my life. Keep them on. Keep them on. Brandon, take care. Yeah, take care, buddy. Thanks, man. That's Brandon Glass from Team Hookup Guide Service. When we come back, we're going to have an opportunity to answer a couple of questions, either by phone if you want to call us up, or I forgot to show you river levels and fish counts. Ryan, how'd you let me do that? We'll be right back.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. And by Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective.